Johann Malawana is the chair of the Junior Doctors Committee at the British Medical Association, which is organising the industrial action. He joins me now. Now, you have timed this, haven't you, for absolute maximum disruption when people are most likely to need the NHS?
That's not true, Katie. What we've been pushed into this action because of the effects of the government. The government came out in July and they've said they're going to impose a contract in August. We are dictated the timetable by Jeremy Hunt and this government.
But you're having the strike in December.
We have followed the legislation that sets out, and we're simply going through that as we've been asked. The fact is, no junior doctor wants to ever go out on strike. The government has pushed us. The government has pushed us into this course of action. Even today, with a mandate of 98%, we have said to the government, please, let's have proper conciliation talks. But the government refuses.
But I'm confused by this because surely, I mean, as I understand it, in July, this document came out by an independent body. You haven't negotiated on it at all. You haven't actually spoken to the government since then. So why do you need to go to another third party? You may as well just start the negotiations. Why do you need to go on strike?
The fact is that the negotiations that are being offered are not serious negotiations. They have always...
Why not?
Well, that's a question for the government. The government has been
Government
clear.
say they are, of course.
Yeah, well, the government says that, and yet junior doctors themselves have read the documents that Jeremy Hunt has put out. These are intelligent professionals, and yet, 98% of them have come out and said that the government's position is not actually is not correct. And
so what would serious negotiations look like to you, then?
What we want to do is we want a serious negotiation that basically takes away the threat of imposition, that is held to the head of junior doctors, and we have a discussion about the safe working practices of junior doctors. That's the key to all of this, is safety of junior doctors in their working practices, because if doctors work safely, they will be less tired and they can have less effect on negative effects on patients.
But as a result, you're putting patient safety at risk. I mean, on the 8th of December, when it's a full strike and there'll be no junior doctors, say, in A&E, what's the worst thing, do you think, that can happen?
The fact is there are doctors throughout the NHS who are going to be working. There are consultants, there are SAS doctors.
There will be no junior doctors.
But there will be a lot of other NHS staff, nurses, consultants and SAS doctors, and we have all committed to making sure that we are going to provide the safest NHS we can in this.
As we can? I mean, what's the impact going to be, do you think?
We've given the NHS 3 weeks of notice. 2 weeks more than we actually need to, because we're very clear that we want the NHS to prepare for this. We want actually the government to stop going down this pathway, stop pushing us into this industrial action. That's what we really want.
Can you guarantee that nobody will die?
We're really hoping that Jeremy Hunt...
Hoping?
We hope that Jeremy Hunt basically takes away the threat of imposition and actually comes and talks to us seriously about a safe contract for junior doctors and for patients.
But that's not an answer. I mean, can you guarantee that nobody will die on December the 8th?
In medicine, unfortunately, there are no guarantees.
There are more guarantees if all the doctors are there.
Well, what we've said all along is that we want safe, fair contracts, because the safety of patients in the long term is affected if Jeremy Hunt imposes this contract.
What would you say to our viewers who have routine operations planned for those days? Those operations will be cancelled, presumably. They'll be in pain for weeks, quite likely. What's your message to them?
The fact is that no doctor wants to cause the disruption that we're seeing. And what we're asking the public is to support their junior doctors and talk to the government, try and tell this government that actually imposing an unsafe contract on junior doctors is ultimately going to have a massive impact on both patients and the NHS. We need to actually say to the government, this is unfair and this is wrong.
I mean, how much free time do you think it is reasonable for a junior doctor to have? I mean, you've been criticised for having enough time to run a separate business, a wedding photography business.
I think I'm not going to dignify that with an answer, because the fact is that, I'm here to talk about...
I mean, if you run a different business on the side...
I'm here to talk about junior doctors, and the fact is that junior doctors are absolutely a vital component of the NHS, and what we want to provide...
Nobody's doubting that, absolutely not.
And what we want to provide is a safe service for our patients. And if we cannot actually have a safe contract that protects our hours and stops us working in an unsafe way, that is ultimately going to be really unfair on doctors and their patients.
But part of this argument is about the free time that you need. And if you, as a junior doctor, are able to run a separate business, then... people out there might think that's a little strange.
What I did while I was doing research in my spare time is a different matter. But
so you no longer do it?
Well, the fact is that what we're here to talk about is the safety of junior doctors, and I think that actually, and patients, and I think actually that line of questioning suggests that we're not focusing on the issue that's absolutely at the heart of this.
So you do still run a wedding photography business?
The fact is that
yes or no?
I spend all my time actually doing these interviews, I'm afraid.
So you're not running it?
No. So the point is that what we need to talk about is junior doctors and the safe hours that we're working. I'm absolutely adamant that what we need to try and do is enter serious talks through the conciliation service with ACAS. We've offered that to the government, and yet the government refuses to engage in that.
Johann Malawana, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.